Imagine waking up and everything you know is gone. Not just the comforts of home, not just your bed or the hum of your phone, but time itself, twisted beyond recognition. You open your eyes to find the air is sharp enough to slice through. Your breath, the ceiling above you, is blackened wood, aged by centuries of smoke. The bed you lie in is foreign, heavy with rough wool that scratches your skin, not soft sheets. Your lungs burn with every breath, your eyes sting from the cold. You look out the window, frost forming delicate patterns on the glass, beautiful yet lethal. Beyond it, a world of endless white. The silence presses in, and that's when it hits you. You're not in your world anymore. You're in a time where survival is everything. You're no longer the princess of wealth and ease, but a stranger in a medieval nightmare. The year is 1895, and you are no longer yourself. You are a dollar princess. Not just any woman, but one of those American heiresses, the daughters of tycoons and bankers, who were sent across the Atlantic to marry into the fading nobility of England. Your wealth bought castles and titles, but money cannot warm frozen bones. Money cannot summon food where there is none. Money cannot stop the gnawing hunger of winter, and winter is here. The first thing you hear is not music, not laughter, but voices outside your chamber. They whisper through the stone, muffled but urgent. The words are sharp, grim. The winter has begun. It is not weather. It is not a season. It is a verdict. And as you rise, pulling the wool tighter, you understand something with chilling clarity. This is not a fairy tale of gowns and balls. This is survival, and every mistake you make could cost you everything. So I ask you, what would you do if you woke up as a dollar princess in 1895, in the heart of winter, with a village staring at you not as a savior, but as another mouth to feed? The day begins not with pleasantries, but with a knock, hard, practical, stripped of all ceremony. The door opens before you can answer. A maid enters, shoulders hunched against the cold. Her cheeks are raw, her hands cracked and red from hauling buckets of ice water. She carries a jug, and even in the dim candlelight you can see the surface has begun to freeze. She sets it on the table with a dull thud. No curtsy, no good morning, my lady. Only survival in her eyes. Your throat is parched, but when you lift the jug, the water pours thick, sluggish, slush instead of liquid. It shocks your teeth when you sip, and you cough, choking on its bite. The maid glances once, then leaves. The door slams shut. You are alone. The manor is a fortress, but not of warmth or safety. Its stones drip with condensation. Drafts creep through every crack. Even the grand tapestries, woven with gold thread, hang limp and useless against the icy breath that snakes along the walls. You rise. Your silk underdress clings to your skin, but offers nothing against the cold. You grope for wool, layering piece over piece, until you are heavy, stiff, more wrapped than dressed. Then you step into the corridor. It is dim, the only light flickering torches that spit resin and smoke. Shadows leap across the walls like restless ghosts. The air smells of smoke, wax, and damp straw. Somewhere distant, a child cries. You descend the stairwell, boots clacking on stone. And when the heavy door groans open, the world beyond strikes you like a blow. Snow, endless white. The wind claws at your face. Your lungs seize with its blade, and there waiting in the courtyard, among bundled figures with hunched shoulders and hollow cheeks, stands Thomas. He is no servant, no nobleman. He is a villager, one of many. Young, 19, perhaps 20, but with eyes too old, sharp and watchful. His hands are cracked, split at the knuckles, his nails dark with dirt and blood from tending to animals in frost. He looks at you, this strange princess wrapped in furs, and says nothing for a long time. His gaze lingers on your boots, think delicate, the kind that would shred within hours in snow this deep. Finally, he speaks. 4 words only. You'll need thicker boots. There is no bow, no courtesy, only a statement, a verdict, and in that instant you feel the shift. In your world, the world you remember, people bowed, people curried favor, smiled, flattered. Here you are weighed, judged, measured not by wealth or beauty, but by whether you can pull your weight, or whether you will be a burden. The truth stings colder than the wind. The village itself is not quaint. It is not a painting. It is a wound carved into frozen earth, barely holding against the storm. Low cottages crouch beneath their thatched roofs, bent with snow. Smoke rises from only a few, the lucky ones with wood still to burn. The others stand silent, dark, already surrendered to frost. Children peer from doorways, cheeks hollow, eyes wide, lips purple. Their gazes fix on you, not with admiration, not with envy, but with suspicion. You are new, you are soft, you are another mouth. Chickens scratch hopelessly in the ice. A pig, ribs, sharp as knives, squeals as it is driven inside for warmth. Thin dogs curl by thresholds, their fur matted with frost. Every sound is desperate, and you feel it, the weight of their stares, the quiet calculation behind every look, because here winter is not weather, winter is war, and in war every soldier must pull their weight. The church bell tolls. It is not a call to prayer, it is a summons to order. The villagers shuffle toward the squat stone church, smoke curling from its chimney. Thomas jerks his head for you too. Follow. Inside, it is no warmer. The air is thick with bodies, sweat, wool, and smoke from sputtering torches. The pews creak under the press of men, women, and children. At the altar stands Father Ulrich. His face is stern, carved by years of hunger. His hands grip not a Bible, but a ledger. This winter will be long, he says. His voice is iron. We measure flour by ounces, wood by sticks. Each family will take what it can bear, no more. A murmur ripples through the crowd. The strong will help the weak, as God commands. But hear me, greed will kill us faster than hunger. The words hang like frost in the rafters. You glance down at your hands, pale, soft, unscarred, around you. The villagers' hands are thick with callus, blackened with earth, scarred by tools, and you realize, with a chill sharper than snow, that your wealth means nothing here, your silks mean nothing. You are not a savior. You are not an equal. Here. You are liability, and they all know it. Night falls quickly in winter. Back in the manor, the great hall flickers dimly with a single hearth. The fire is small, the logs precious. Shadows cling to the rafters, turning. Beams into black ribs of some ancient beast. Servants, farmers, villagers huddle shoulder to shoulder near the flames. Breaths mingle. There is no privacy. There is only warmth, hoarded like treasure. You are guided to a cot stuffed with straw, scratchy wool thrown over it. It smells of damp and sweat. It is not comfort, only endurance. The hall grows quiet, but not with sleep, because in this world, sleep is not whole. It is broken, segmented. First sleep, midnight watch. Second sleep, it is a rhythm older than clocks, a rhythm of survival. At midnight, the fire is stoked. Men rise to patrol the village, against wolves, thieves, or worse. Women stir, tend to children, mend torn clothes, whisper prayers. Knowledge is passed in those hours. Remedies for frostbite, tales of ancestors, warnings, and as you drift, caught between exhaustion and fear, you wake again. The fire glows low, the hall is still, and then you hear it. A scratching dot at the shutters, not the howl of wind, not the scrape of branches, something deliberate, something slow. Thomas, lying nearby on a mat. His hand goes to the knife at his belt. He looks at you, eyes dark in the firelight, and whispers one phrase. It begins. The sound comes again. Scratch, pause, scratch, dot, your breath catches. The hall is filled with sleeping bodies, but no one stirs. Only Thomas is awake, crouched, his knife glinting faintly in the firelight. He tilts his head, listening. The noise is faint, but deliberate, not random, not the wind. You whisper, "What is it?" His voice is low. Could be a branch. Could be worse. You shiver. Worse. What does worse mean in a place already consumed by hunger and cold? The scratching stops. Silence falls heavy. Even the fire seems to hold its breath. Minutes pass. Thomas lowers the knife, but his eyes remain fixed on the shutter. His jaw is tight, muscles flickering under the skin. Finally, he lies back down, muttering, "Winter's awake." That's all. You don't sleep after that. The church bell wakes the village before dawn. Its tone is not a call to prayer, but a command. Outside, the sky is iron grey. Breath fogs with every exhale, hanging like smoke. Snow crunches underfoot. The villagers gather again, men carrying axes, women hauling baskets, children stumbling in oversized boots. This time, you walk among them. No carriage, no attendants, just another figure in the cold. Thomas walks beside you, silent. He carries a bundle of sticks under one arm, firewood gathered from the hedgerows. To you, it looks pitifully small. To him, it is survival, church steps. Father Ulrich waits, his ledger under one arm, a small set of scales before him. The villagers file past, dropping what they have: sacks of grain, bundles of wood, jars of dried beans. Each family's offering is weighed, recorded. Each person's name written down. This is not charity, this is accounting. When it is your turn, you hesitate. What do you have to give? The servants at the manor provided you food yesterday, but you brought nothing yourself. You feel the eyes of the village on you, sharp, measuring. Thomas mutters, best to offer something, anything. You reach into your pocket and pull out a silver locket, delicate, ornate, a gift from your mother. You place it on the scale. The villagers murmur. Father Ulrich studies it, then shakes his head. Silver cannot be eaten, he says flatly. He pushes it back toward you. Wood, grain, meat, that is what we measure. You flush with shame, sliding the locket back into your cloak. The stairs burn into you. Here, wealth is useless. Thomas leans close. Next time, bring wood. That day you are given a task. Not embroidery, not letters, work. Thomas takes you to the edge of the village, where frostbitten hedges curl like blackened claws against the snow. Dead branches, he says, thrusting an axe into your hands. No green wood, only dry. The axe is heavy, unbalanced. Your arms tremble as you raise it. The first swing bites weakly, the blade barely nicking the branch. Thomas sighs, then demonstrates one clean stroke, splintering the wood. Again, he says, you try, again, again. Your shoulders ache, your palms burn, your breath clouds in the air. Each strike feels clumsy, but slowly, splinters fall. You gather them into a bundle by the time the sun sets. Your arms hang limp, your hands raw. You've cut enough wood for one night's fire, no more. Thomas says nothing, only nods once. In his eyes, you catch the faintest flicker of respect. That evening, the village gathers in the manor hall for food. It is not a feast. It is not even a meal by your standards. A single cauldron hangs over the hearth, filled with pottage, a stew of barley, cabbage, and scraps of salted meat. Everyone eats from wooden bowls, dipping bread so hard it must be soaked before biting. You sit among them, chewing slowly, the bitterness of the cabbage sharp on your tongue. The bread crumbles like stone in your teeth. Hunger sharpens everything, though, and you finish every drop. The villagers notice. No complaints, no gagging. You eat what they eat, and in that simple act, suspicion softens. A little, a little. Night comes again. The hall grows quiet. People drift into their first sleep, curled under wool and straw. You lie awake, body aching, mind racing. The cold seeps in, numbing your fingers, your toes, but exhaustion wins. Your eyes close. You dream of summer, of green fields, heavy with grain, of sunlight so warm it makes your skin glow. You dream of fruit so ripe it bursts in your mouth. Then you wake. The fire is low, embers glowing red. Shapes stir in the dark. Men rise, pulling on boots, grasping spears. Women whisper over sewing, rocking children. Thomas passes by your cot. You're awake. You nod. Come, he says. He leads you outside. The air is black, the snow crunching. Loud underfoot. The stars blaze sharp in the sky, brighter than you've ever seen. Your breath steams, the cold clamping your chest. The village lies silent. Every roof buried in snow, every window dark. Only the crunch of boots, the hiss of wind. This is the watch, Thomas murmurs. We walk the lines. Wolves, thieves, fires, anything that threatens. You walk with him, boots sinking deep. Your cloak whips in the wind. In the silence, every sound magnifies the creak of branches, the distant hoot of an owl, the snap of ice. Then you hear it, a cry, faint, thin, carried on the wind. You freeze. Thomas grips your arm, eyes scanning the darkness. Again the sound, a child's cry, far off, beyond the hedgerow. Thomas whispers, "Stay close." He steps forward, snow crunching underfoot, his knife drawn. You follow, heart hammering, the sound growing louder. But when you reach the hedgerow, there is nothing, only snow, only silence. The cry stops. Thomas stares into the darkness, jaw clenched. Finally he mutters, "Sometimes the winter plays tricks." But his eyes say something else, something he doesn't voice. You return to the hall, shaken. The others still sleep. The fire pops softly. You lie down, pulling the wool tight. But sleep does not come easily. For even in silence, you still hear it, faint, distant, the cry, and as your eyes close, you realize this is only the first night. Winter has only begun. Act 2. Village life at the edge. The bell wakes you before dawn again. Its sound is hollow, heavy, echoing through the frozen air. When you step outside, the cold bites deeper. The snow has hardened overnight, crusted sharp underfoot. The cottages crouch beneath it, roofs sagging. Smoke trickles weakly from a handful of chimneys. Thomas waits for you. He doesn't speak at first, only studies the frost clinging to your cloak, your lips blue. At last, he says, you lasted one night. Good, some don't. The words are not comfort. They are a fact. He presses a bundle into your hands. Stale bread, hard as stone. Eat while walking. Work weights. You bite. The crust scrapes your gums. It tastes of ash and salt, but your empty stomach accepts it eagerly. As you chew, you notice the villagers around you. Faces drawn, eyes hollow, yet every one moving with grim purpose. Some led goats, ribs sharp beneath their hides. Others carry buckets of water skimmed with ice. Children stumble behind, clutching tools too large for their hands. Every step is labor. Every breath burns. And you realize here, life is not lived. It is endured. Thomas takes you to a low barn at the edge of the village. Inside, the air is damp, warm with animal breath. Cows shift restlessly, their coats dull, their bodies thin. A goat bleats weakly, nudging at an empty trough. This, Thomas says, is survival. These beasts live, we live. He shows you how to break the ice crust in the water buckets, how to scatter dried fodder. The cows chew slowly, eyes glazed. Then he hands you a wooden rake. Muck out the straw. Fresh bedding means fewer deaths. You gag at the stench, ammonia, rot, manure, thick in the air. Your silks and perfumes mean nothing here. You rake, coughing, until sweat runs down your back despite the cold. Your arms tremble, your lungs burn by the time the floor is clean. Your dress is smeared, your gloves ruined. Thomas says nothing, only nods once. That nod carries weight, acknowledgement. That you worked, that you did not refuse. At midday, the villagers gather to eat. Not in the manor hall this time, but outside. Crouched near a fire pit. The bread is black, heavy, made of barley and rye, stretched with ground peas. It tastes bitter, coarse, but fills your stomach. Children chew silently, their jaws working hard. An old woman shares her piece with a boy too young to hold his own. No one complains. No one asks for more. You swallow every bite, and though your throat aches, you do not leave a crumb. Around you, heads turn. Again, the suspicion softens. A little, only a little. That night, you begin to understand their rhythm. The hall quiets. First sleep takes them. You two drift, exhaustion pulling you under. Then you wake, the fire is stirred. Men slip out with spears. Women stitch torn boots by torchlight. Some whisper prayers, some trade stories. Low voices about ancestors who faced harsher winters. About wolves at the edge of light. About neighbors lost. Thomas sits beside you, sharpening his knife. The sound grates, steel on stone, steady, precise. You see now, he says, this is the way. Wake, watch. Sleep again, keeps the mind sharp, keeps the body alive. You ask, how long? He shrugs, until the thaw, or until we don't wake. The words sit heavy, asterisk, asterisk, in the churchyard, as the families gather to weigh their wood and grain. A boy no older than 10 sways, then falls to his knees. His lips are cracked, his face grey. A woman, his mother, drops beside him, lifting his head, rocking him desperately. Father Ulrich pushes through the crowd, lays a hand on the boy's chest. He listens, eyes grim. Then he shakes his head. The boy still breathes, but faint. To faint, the villagers look away. Some mutter, another mouth too weak. The mother cries out, "He will live. He only needs rest." Thomas pulls you aside, voice low. It is hunger. He will not see spring. The weight of it crushes you. This is not illness, not accident. This is starvation, slow and merciless. The boy is carried inside. The ledger records one more name, marked with a cross. That night, no one sings. The next day, the elders gather the village. Each household lays its food before the church. Sacks of grain, jars of beans, strips of dried meat. The scales weigh them. The ledger records them. Then, in silence, Father Ulrich takes a torch. He holds it over a small pile of grain deliberately hidden by a family, discovered by neighbors. The crowd shifts, uneasy. The man protests. "It is for my children." But no one listens. The torch drops. The grain flares, crackling, burning. Into smoke, the smell of wasted bread fills the air. The punishment is clear. No hoarding, no greed. The villagers watch, faces blank, eyes hard. You feel your stomach twist. In your world, food was excess, a banquet, waste without thought. Here, even waste becomes law. Thomas whispers, "Better burned than stolen." Later, as night falls, the hall fills again with weary bodies. The fire burns low. A woman approaches you. Her face is lined, her hair streaked with grey. She carries a child, thin as a reed. She kneels before you. "Take him," she begs. "My home is empty. I cannot feed him. You have bread at the manor, please." The hall grows quiet. All eyes turn. You freeze. The child clings to her, wide eyes staring. His cheeks are hollow, his hands trembling. You have no answer. What can you promise? You are no savior. You are barely surviving yourself. Thomas steps forward. He speaks for you. The elders will decide. The woman weeps, clutching her child. That night, as you lie awake, you hear the child's thin cries echoing in the dark, and you wonder, would you have taken him if it meant your own death? It is the midnight watch again. The men walk their lines, torches hissing in the snow. You follow Thomas once more, boots crunching. The village is silent, save for the wind. Then a sound, not a cry this time. A whisper, low, deliberate, drifting across the snow. You cannot make out words, only the tone, coaxing, luring. Thomas stiffens, his hand goes to his knife. He whispers to you, "Do not answer, do not speak." The whisper fades. When you return, the hall is silent, but you cannot sleep. The sound lingers, curling in your ears like frost, and you realize the edge of survival is not just hunger, it is fear. Fear of the dark, fear of what waits in silence, fear that not everything outside the shutter is human. At dawn, the bell rings again. The elders gather. The woman from last night stands before them, child at her side. Her plea is simple: "He will die with me. Let another family take him." The room is silent. Finally, Father Ulrich nods. So be it. The child is reassigned, taken by a stronger household. The mother weeps, clutching his hand until it is pulled away. The village does not console her. There is no comfort, only survival. You watch, hollow, as the boy disappears into another home. And you understand, here mercy and cruelty are the same. Both are survival. That night, as the fire dies low, Thomas speaks quietly beside you. You see now, winter is not cold, it is not snow, winter is hunger. Winter is trade, winter is choosing who lives. He looks at you, eyes sharp, and winter has only just begun. The hall falls silent. The scratching returns faintly at the shutters. You close your eyes, knowing the days ahead will grow harsher still. The third week of winter settles like iron over the village. Not the fresh snow of childhood stories, not the glittering ice of fairy tales. This is a cold that seeps into your marrow, a cold that turns every breath into knives. Inside the manor, the hearth burns low, logs are rationed, every stick of wood is counted, weighed, and measured. Fires are no longer comfort, they are currency. You sit with the villagers around the single blaze, shoulders pressed against strangers, breath mingling in the smoky air. The crackle of flame is a lullaby, the only sound louder than the groans of hungry stomachs. Thomas leans close, voice low. Remember this, a house without fire is a grave. Food may stretch, but without flame we're corpses. You watch. A servant measured the logs. One for tonight, one for tomorrow. That is all. The rest locked, guarded. And suddenly you understand, in this world, fire is not warmth. It is life. Each family tends its hearth like a shrine. Children crouch close, hands spread, eyes half closed in relief. The flames paint their faces gold, but their bellies remain hollow. Arguments erupt over sparks. A family accused of burning too much. A neighbor caught stealing a handful of kindling. The punishment is swift, wood seized, redistributed. No one argues long. Fire cannot be hidden. Smoke betrays every thief. One night, you watch as a woman sacrifices her last log, not for herself, but for her child. She shivers in silence, lips blue, while the boy sleeps warm. By morning, she does not rise. No one weeps, no one speaks. The log kept her child alive. That is all that matters. Food, too, becomes ritual. Each day, pottage simmers in the great pot. Barley stretched with turnips, cabbage, beans. Meat is rare, a precious scrap boiled to flavor, then removed before serving. The broth feeds more mouths than flesh ever could. You eat your portion silently, like all the rest. The bitterness lingers on your tongue, but you never complain. The bread is black, hard as stone, baked from barley ground with pea flour, sometimes with sawdust mixed to stretch it further. Your teeth ache as you chew, but the hunger silences every protest. Sometimes a sliver of bacon, sometimes a dried apple. Each is savored, passed around, licked clean. One evening, a boy licks the bowl so long his mother pries it from his hands. His wail fills the hall, not anger, but desperation. It is the sound of hunger hollowing the soul. Thomas says, that sound will haunt you. We all know it, and you believe him. Amidst this desperation, there are moments of defiance. At the turning of the month, the villagers hold a feast, not of plenty, but of memory. St. Brigid's Day, they call it. A night to remind themselves that joy still exists, even in famine. The last of the honey is stirred into ale. A piglet, too small to survive the winter, is slaughtered and roasted. The hall fills with the smell of fat and smoke, rich enough to make your knees weak. Children dance, their cheeks flushed, their bones still sharp, but their eyes alight. Men sing old songs, voices cracking but strong. Women with straw crosses, holding them to the fire for blessing. You are pulled into the circle, hands clasped by villagers. The dance is clumsy, dizzying, but for the first time since your arrival, laughter rings in your chest. For a moment, hunger is forgotten. Thomas watches you, and though he does not smile, there is softness in his gaze. Later, as the fire dies, he mutters, "Feasts keep us alive, not the food, the remembering." And you understand, without joy, hunger wins faster. Faith is not separate from survival. It is bound tight. The church is not only a house of God, but the village granary. Its cold stone walls shelter sacks of grain, guarded day and night. The altar is flanked not only by candles, but by ledgers, tallies, and scales. Father Ulrich preaches of sin and salvation, but always he returns to one lesson: greed is death. Share, or the Lord will judge you sooner. Prayers are said over bread before it is eaten. Blessings are whispered over wood before it is burned. Children learn the Psalms alongside the rules of ration. Faith binds them, but discipline keeps them breathing. One night you ask Thomas, do they truly believe God feeds them? He shrugs. Some, others know the truth. God helps those who watch the scales. His eyes harden. But if prayer keeps men from stealing, then prayer saves us, too. Tension cracks one night during a sermon. Father Ulrich thunders that the Lord will provide. He insists prayer will summon warmth, that sin brings famine. An elder stands, gaunt and furious. No prayer fills a belly. No blessing mends a frozen roof. It is labor that saves us. The hall erupts. Some shout for faith, others for pragmatism. Children cry in the noise. Father Ulrich slams his ledger shut, the sound echoing. Without faith, you are beasts. The elder spits back, better beasts than corpses. The argument tears the hall in two, faith versus fire, prayer versus bread, and you, caught between. See the truth, both are needed. Without faith, despair consumes. Without labor, death arrives. But the villagers do not see balance. They see sides, and sides are dangerous. That night, outside on the watch, Thomas speaks quietly. His breath steams in the moonlight. My father was a man of prayer. He knelt every night, begged God for mercy. But when the stores emptied, he gave me his bread. He died before spring. He stares into the snow. His voice is flat. I pray less now, but I cut wood. I hunt. I watch. That is my faith. You hear the weight in his words, not anger, not sorrow, but resolve. And in that moment, you see Thomas not as a boy, but as the spine of the village. Hard, unbending, scarred by necessity. One night, the patrol discovers a family's fire burned too high. The smoke had betrayed them, thick against the night sky. When the men enter, they find the truth. The family had burned their furniture, chairs, stools, even a table. Desperation made them reckless. Their fire is doused, their remaining would seize. The children cry as cold floods in. Father Ulrich declares judgment. Excess brings death to all. You feel the cruelty in it, but Thomas leans close, whispering, better shame than ashes. One roof lost to fire would take the whole row, and you realize survival leaves no room for pity. Amidst this grimness, another feast comes, not for saints, not for memory, but for defiance. The villagers gather, not in church, not in hall, but under the stars. A single fire burns in the snow. Around it, they sing. The songs are old, older than the church, older than the manor. songs of earth, of sun, of seasons turning. Their voices rise, cracked but fierce, carried on the frozen wind. You sing too, at first clumsy, your accent strange, but then the rhythm takes you. The circle of voices swells. For a heartbeat you feel it, the strength of many hearts beating as one. Thomas's voice is rough, deep. He glances at you, and this time he almost smiles. When the song ends, silence falls heavy, but not empty. The fire burns low, but its warmth lingers in your chest. You understand, food feeds the body, fire guards the flesh, but faith, in God, in songs, in one another, that feeds the soul. And without it, winter would already have one. But joy is fleeting. The very next night, a scream cuts through the hall. The villagers bolt upright, hearts pounding. Outside, wolves prowl at the edge of the fields. Their eyes glow in the torchlight, hungry, patient, and worse still, behind them. In the shadows, Thomas swears he sees something else, something standing, watching. The hall falls silent as the howls echo. Closer, closer, and you realize fire, food, faith, none of it matters if the dark has come alive. The wolves are gone by morning. Their tracks scar the snow at the village edge, wide, heavy, circling. The villagers whisper, but they do not linger outside. The fear remains, a weight on every breath. But hunger is heavier still. You feel it first in your stomach, the dull ache that never fades. Each meal fills you just enough to keep walking, never enough to feel whole. You dream of food, wake with the taste of bread on your tongue, only to find your bowl empty. The villagers show no surprise. They have lived this before. Their eyes are flat, their voices thin. Thomas explains it quietly, almost like a teacher. Your body learns to hibernate. It slows, less heat, less hunger, less life. That's how we last. You realize what he means when you see the children. Their play is gone. They no longer run, no longer laugh. They sit near the hearth, movements sluggish, eyes heavy. Even you, once restless, once sharp, now drift into sleep without warning. Your hands shake when you lift wood. Your legs weaken on the path. Winter is not just outside. Winter is in your blood. One night, after the first sleep, you wake during the watch. The fire glows faint, embers red. Shadows writhe along the rafters. You see a figure, your mother, standing at the far end of the hall. She wears silk, glowing white, her smile warm. She holds out her hand. Your chest aches with longing. You rise, stepping toward her. Then Thomas's hand clamps your arm. His voice cuts the air. Stop, you blink. The figure is gone. Only shadows, only smoke. Thomas studies you, eyes sharp. Hunger dreams, he mutters. The body tricks itself. You'll see more before spring. Your skin prickles. It had felt so real. The warmth of her smile, the sound of her voice. And suddenly, you understand how madness can creep into the bones just as easily as cold. The midnight watch becomes more than patrol. It is school by firelight. The elders teach the young remedies for frostbite, how to stitch torn boots, how to tell when meat is too spoiled to eat. They share stories too, not of kings or saints, but of winters past, of villages buried, of families lost, of narrow survival. You listen, every word etched into you. In your world, knowledge was written in books. Here, it is carried in tongues, passed hand to hand like bread. Thomas leans close one night, whispering, "Listen well. What you learn now may save you next winter, or the one after." The thought chills you. You had never imagined one winter could follow another. On a bitter morning, you wake to silence too deep. The hall stirs slowly, but one mat is empty, a boy. Perhaps 6 is gone. The villagers search. Outside, his footprints lead into the snow. They end at the edge of the frozen pond. He lies there, curled like he is still asleep. Frost clings to his lashes, his lips blue. His mother wails, but the sound is hollow. The villagers do not gather close. They stand at a distance, eyes lowered. Father Ulrich crosses himself. The cold claimed him quickly. The boy is lifted gently, wrapped in cloth, carried to the church. There will be no grave until spring. The earth is iron, unyielding. The mother follows, her sobs fading. The footprints remain, frozen in place. That night, the hall is silent. No songs, no whispers, only breathing, heavy and slow. As days crawl, your body changes. Your fingers are always numb. Your stomach clenches at the smell of food. Your dreams are fevered, vivid. The villagers call it the slow sleep. The body conserving itself, surrendering to winter. You feel it. Your heart beats slower. Your steps drag. Your thoughts blur. Some days you cannot tell waking from dream. Yet even in this weakness, you notice Thomas moving steadily. His cheeks are hollow, his frame lean, but his eyes remain sharp. He forces himself awake, forces himself to eat only half his share, forcing the rest into the bowls of children. When you question him, he shrugs. They must live. If not them, then no one. You hear the truth in his voice. It is not hope that drives him. It is duty. It happens again. During second sleep, a knock at the shutter. Slow, deliberate. The hall stirs. A few men rise, torches lit. Thomas motions for silence. The knock comes again. Not frantic. Not pleading. Calm, almost patient. A woman near the hearth begins to pray. Thomas grips his knife. He leans to you, whispering, "Do not move, do not speak." The knock stops. Silence falls. But no one sleeps again that night. During the next watch, one of the elders speaks by the fire. His voice is rasping, but steady. "In my father's time, a winter lasted 2 years. The sun dimmed. Snow never melted. People ate bark, leather, rats. Whole villages vanished, but some endured. Not by strength, not by faith, by learning to be less than human. By slowing, by sleeping." He leans close, eyes like coals. "Remember this. Winter is not survived by the strong. Winter is survived by the slow." The words lodge deep. You had always thought survival meant fight, meant struggle. But here, survival is surrender. That night, you dream again. Fields of green, wheat heavy with gold, fruit bursting with sweetness. A banquet spread wide. Bread, meat, cheese, wine. You eat until you weep, laughing, singing. The villagers laugh with you, their bellies full, their eyes bright. Then the dream shatters. You wake with your mouth full of straw, chewing desperately, tears running down your face. Thomas pulls the straw from your lips gently. He does not mock. He only says, "It happens to us all." And you believe him by mid-season. The rhythm is complete. First sleep, midnight watch. Second sleep, wake, work, eat, sleep. Every step measured, every breath precious. The body is no longer yours. It belongs to winter. You see it in everyone. Cheeks hollow, eyes sunken, movements sluggish. but still they endure together. One night, as the fire glows low, Thomas whispers the truth. We are not living. We are waiting, waiting for the thaw. And in his voice, you hear both despair and defiance. The next morning, the bell rings. Early, too early. The elders gather the village in the church. Their faces are grim, eyes hollow. Father Ulrich speaks. Stores are failing. Some households cannot last. Choices must be made. The words echo like thunder. And you realize the body in winter is not only flesh, it is also the village itself, and it too is beginning to break. The bell tolls again. Its sound cuts through the grey dawn, deeper, harsher. The villagers gather at the church, their breaths fogging in the icy air. Inside, the cold stone walls magnify every shuffle, every cough. Father Ulrich stands at the altar, the great ledger before him, its pages thick with names and tallies, but the columns now are shorter. Stores run lower. Families report less grain, fewer sticks of wood. The weights on the scales tilt lighter and lighter. Some households will not last, Father Ulrich says. His voice echoes, hard and unyielding. The stores must be reassigned, for the good of the village. Murmurs ripple through the crowd, fear, anger, disbelief. Thomas's jaw tightens. He whispers to you, this is the part where neighbors stop being neighbors. The process begins. One family after another steps forward, their bundles weighed. The scales betray them, lighter than last time. Whispers hiss through the crowd. They kept some back. They're hiding. The elders record each shortage. Then comes the judgment. Some families stripped of their remaining stores, reassigned to others. In some cases, even their children are sent to stronger households. You watch as a girl no older than 8 is pulled from her mother's arms, crying. The mother sobs, clutching her dress, begging, but the elders do not bend. The child is given to another family, who lead her away without looking back. You feel sick. You whisper, how can they do this? Thomas answers, voice flat, because if they don't, more will die. Better to break one family than lose 10. The logic is cold, but here cold is law. That night, a rumor spreads through the hall. One family, the Keens, had flour hidden beneath their floorboards. A child from another household claimed to have seen it while playing. By torchlight, the elders search. They pry up the planks, and there it is, a sack of grain, hidden, untouched. The hall erupts in shouts. Thieves, greedy swine. You'd let our children starve. The Keens plead, weeping. We only wanted our children to live, but no one listens. The sack is seized, their firewood taken, their names marked with shame in the ledger. Thomas mutters to you, they'll be watched now, watched until nothing's left. And you see it in the eyes of the villagers. Once trust breaks, it cannot be mended. Days pass, the snow deepens, hunger gnaws harder, and the whispers grow louder. Did you see the Thompson's fire? Too bright. The Harper's boy looks too strong. They must have more. Father Ulrich himself. Do you think he eats more than his share? Suspicion poisons the air. Every glance is a judgment. Every kindness is questioned. You find yourself watched, too. Eyes follow your hands when you take your bowl, when you eat your bread. You hear the whispers, she's still a lady. What does she hide? It crushes you. You have nothing hidden, nothing spared. But here, perception is truth. Thomas notices your trembling hands. He says, do not show fear. They can smell it like wolves. You ask, and if they accuse me, his eyes are cold, then pray they find nothing, or they'll strip you bare. One morning, the bell rings, not for gathering, but for alarm. An entire family is gone. Their cottage stands empty, its door swinging open in the wind. Inside, the hearth is cold, the mats abandoned. No footprints lead away, only snow, smooth and unbroken. Whispers fill the air. They ran, they were taken. The wolves got them. But Thomas shakes his head. No wolves leave no blood. No prints. You ask, then what? He only answers, sometimes families don't last, and sometimes they are made not to last. The words send ice through your veins. That night, the woman who had begged you to take her child approaches again. Her face is hollow, her eyes fever bright. She presses a small bundle into your hands. A strip of cloth, something, wrapped inside. When you open it, you see a small, carved figure, a saint worn smooth by years of prayer. Take him now, she whispers. Please, he will live with you. Better with you than with none. The weight of the figure burns in your palm. You cannot answer. You are not strong enough even for yourself. Yet her eyes tear into you hope, despair, madness, all at once. Before you can speak, Thomas steps between you. He returns the figure to her hand. His voice is hard. The elders decide, not her. She stares at him with hatred, then vanishes into the shadows, clutching her child. You feel the guilt heavy as stone. Days later, you stumble upon Thomas outside the barn. He signals you to silence, then opens the door. Inside, hidden beneath piles of straw, lies a bundle. Not wood, not tools. Food, a small stash of dried beans, a strip of meat, wrapped carefully. You gasp. You hid this. Thomas's face is unreadable. It's not for me, it's for them. He gestures toward the corner where two orphaned children sleep. Their faces pale, their limbs thin. They'd be gone already without this. No one misses scraps. But don't speak of it. You nod, shaken. In a world where secrets mean survival, even kindness must be hidden. That night, the storm breaks. In the hall, voices rise, louder than before. Families accuse each other, shouting, pointing, swearing. The Keens shout back, desperate, their faces twisted with shame. Father. Ulrich slams his staff against the floor. Enough. But the shouting does not stop. Hunger has eaten away civility. Neighbors spit curses. Brothers accuse brothers. And through it all, you sit, frozen, feeling the walls closing in, because you realize it is only a matter of time before someone points at you. The next morning, disaster strikes. The granary is opened, the ledgers checked. Grain is missing. Enough to feed 20 people for a week. Panic spreads like fire. Who took it? Who betrayed them all? Eyes turn everywhere. Suspicion thick as smoke. Father Ulrich rages. Confess, and you will be judged. Hide, and you doom us all. But no one steps forward. Thomas whispers to you, this is the beginning. From here, it only worsens. And in his eyes, you see it fear. Not of hunger, not of wolves, but of people. That night, the hall is restless. No one sleeps. Every creak is a thief. Every shadow a betrayer. And then, in the storm outside, a scream rips through the dark. The villagers bolt upright, torches flaring, knives drawn. Thomas grips your arm, eyes hard. This isn't wolves, this is us. And in that moment, you realize the greatest threat of winter is not the cold. not the hunger, it is the breaking of trust. The day begins with silence, a silence so deep it feels wrong. The air is heavy. The sky darkens before noon, clouds black and thick as ash. The villagers glance upward nervously. Thomas mutters, "Another storm, worse than the last." By dusk, the wind has risen. By nightfall, it howls like a living thing. Snow slams against shutters, seeps through cracks. Roofs groan under the weight. The very walls of the manor shudder. The villagers crowd into the hall, pressed shoulder to shoulder, eyes wide, lips tight. Children cling to mothers. Men grip spears and axes, though against what, none can say. The storm is not just weather, it is a siege. It begins with a crash. A roof beam snaps in the far cottage. The sound splits, the nightwood tearing stone. Crumbling, a scream cut short. Men rush out with torches, vanishing into the blizzard. You strain to see through the door, but only snow greets you, thick and blinding. Minutes pass. Then they return, dragging two survivors, coughing, half-frozen. Their clothes are dusted white with snow and plaster. Behind them, nothing remains. Of their home but a broken shell, no one speaks. There are no words. The survivors are given a corner in the hall. Their eyes are empty. Their breath rattles. One clutches a scrap of wood, the last piece of their roof, as if it were gold. The storm hides more than snow. From the dark beyond the torches, howls rise, long, piercing, closer than before. The wolves have returned, driven by hunger, bolder. Now, through the blizzard, their shapes flicker, shadows circling, eyes gleaming like coals. Their paws crunch on snow just beyond the firelight. Children cry. Women whisper prayers. Men grip spears tighter. Thomas leans close, voice sharp. They smell weakness. If one breaks through, they all will. The men form a ring near the door, spears outward. The hall holds its breath. Minutes drag. The howls fade. The shadows vanish. But everyone knows they are not gone. Only waiting, just as calm begins to settle. It shatters. A scream rips through the blizzard outside. High, desperate, human, the hall erupts. Men shout, torches flare. The elders demand. Silence, but panic surges like fire. The scream comes again. A woman's voice, pleading, breaking. Help me. Without thought, Thomas grips your arm and pulls you toward the door. Stay close, the storm swallows you. Snow lashes your face, blinding. Torches sputter in the wind. Shapes stumble ahead, men shouting against the roar. And then you see it, at the edge of the light. A woman kneels in the snow, her hands outstretched, her hair plastered to her face with ice. She screams again, but the sound is wrong, too even, too hollow. Thomas stiffens. His voice is a growl. Back inside, now, but some villagers don't listen. They rush forward, arms outstretched. The snow erupts. Shadows leap. Wolves tear from the dark, fangs flashing, claws raking. The air fills with screams, real screams. This time, ragged, human, final. You are yanked backward, stumbling, as Thomas drags you toward the hall. Behind you, the snow runs red, that the door slams, the bar drops. The survivors press against it, panting, bloodied. The wolves throw themselves against the walls, snarling, scratching, shaking the timbers. The hall trembles with terror. The hearth sputters. The storm drives smoke back down the chimney, choking the air. Sparks spit, The flames shrinking. Men pile wood, desperate. But the storm consumes the fire faster than it can grow. The hall dims. Shadows swell. The wolves howl louder, claws raking. The walls, a child's sobs, will die. Thomas seizes the boy's hand, thrusts it toward the weak flame. Not if we guard this, not if we keep it alive. The fire roars briefly, then falters again, and you realize, if the fire dies, the wolves will not need to break the door. Hunger and cold will kill you first. In the chaos, a new horror emerges. A man is caught slipping toward the back, a sack clutched to his chest. He is tackled, dragged forward, the sack ripped open. Grain spills across the floor, enough to feed a family for weeks. The hall erupts in fury, shouts, curses, fists. Men strike him, women spit. He begs, sobbing, "For my children, I only wanted them to live. But the elders are merciless. You doomed us all." His grain is seized, his name crossed in the ledger with finality. He is dragged to the door, thrown into the storm. His screams fade into the howls, then silence. The children left behind wail, clutching each other. No one moves to comfort them. Thomas's voice is a whisper. This is what hunger does. It makes monsters of men. The night is not finished. Another crash shakes the hall. Snow pours in through a gap in the roof. The villagers scream, scrambling back. The fire sputters under the sudden cold. Men rush to brace the beams. Thomas shouts orders, his voice cutting through the panic. Ropes, props, hold it. You find yourself beside him, hands numb as you grip a rope, pulling, straining, your muscles screaming. The roof groans, then settles, still broken but standing. Your arms shake. Your lungs burn, but you held. Thomas glances at you. For once, his voice softens. Good hours stretch like years. The storm howls, wolves prowl, children sob, the fire sputters. No one sleeps, no one speaks above whispers. The hall becomes a tomb filled with breath, fear, and silence. Every knock of wind, every scratch at the wall, every creak of timber feels like the end. The old man mutters prayers. A woman hums a lullaby, broken and thin. You sit against the wall, cloak pulled tight, eyes burning, mind hollow. You are beyond hunger, beyond fear. Only endurance remains. Thomas sits beside you, his knife across his knees, eyes fixed on the door. He does not blink. He does not falter. You realize then, he has lived this night before, and you wonder, how many nights like this can one man survive before winter takes not his body, but his soul? At last, the storm breaks, the wind dies, the howls fade, the hall brightens with the grey light of dawn. When the door creaks open, the sight is worse than the night. Snow drifts high as roofs, cottages buried to their windows. Paths vanished, hedgerows drowned, and in the white bodies, villagers who had run, half buried, frozen in place. The wolves are gone, but their tracks remain, circling, endless. The survivors stand in silence. No cheers, no relief, only the heavy knowledge. The storm has passed, but the winter has not. Father Ulrich gathers the villagers, voice hoarse. We cannot last like this. Faith must guide us, or we are already lost. An elder spits back. Faith won't fill bowls. Faith won't mend roofs. Voices rise, anger boiling. The unity of the village fractures before your eyes. Thomas grips your arm. His whisper is sharp, urgent. This is it, the choice. prayer or bread, faith or fire. And you understand, the storm outside has ended, but the storm within has only begun. The storm has passed, but its ruin lingers. The village emerges from the hall into a world unrecognizable. Snow lies in drifts higher than men, burying paths, swallowing fences. Whole cottages sag under the weight, some already collapsed, there, chimneys jutting like broken teeth. The silence is eerie. No birds, no dogs. Only the crunch of boots, the hiss of shifting snow. Bodies lie where the storm left them, half covered, stiff faces twisted. Some are villagers. Some are strangers, travelers caught in the blizzard, nameless, frozen. The survivors move through it, hollow-eyed, neither weeping nor speaking. They drag the dead to the church, where they will remain until spring softens the ground. You follow, numb. The sight of frozen children haunts your vision, their small hands curled as if still reaching for warmth. Thomas's voice cuts the silence. This is what winter leaves. Not just hunger, not just cold, but division. Watch, now, you'll see. Inside the church, the survivors huddle. The air is thick with damp wool, smoke, and grief. The dead lie in the shadows, shrouded in cloth. The living wait in silence, eyes shifting between Father Ulrich and the elders. Father Ulrich speaks first, his voice carrying across the stone. We have endured the storm. By God's grace, we still draw breath. Let us kneel, give thanks, and pray for deliverance. He falls to his knees. Some villagers follow, bowing their heads, murmuring prayers, but not all. An elder named Randall stays standing, his face lined with anger. He slams his hand against the ledger. Enough, enough prayer, enough waiting. Bread and wood, that is what saves us. Not words, not hymns. The church erupts in murmurs, half in agreement, half in outrage. Father Ulrich rises slowly, eyes flashing. Do you not see? The storm was sent to test us. Those who fell, fell because they lacked faith. Only the righteous endure. Randall's voice thunders back. No, they died because there was no roof, no fire, no food. Will you feed us with your sermons? Will you mend beams with your prayers? The hall splits. Voices rise, overlapping. Shouts, echo, anger, sharp. You feel it, the fracture. The unity that held through the storm is breaking. The argument swells into chaos. One woman cries, God saved us. Look, we are still alive. Another spits, God. My husband froze while you knelt. Hands wave, fists slam, children wail as the air thickens with rage. Father Ulrich shouts above them, faith binds us. Without God, we are beasts. Randall bellows, then call me beast, for I will not starve kneeling. Thomas grips your arm, pulling you back from the surge. His voice is tight. This is the worst of it. Hunger makes men mad. They will tear each other apart before the wolves return. You whisper, can nothing hold them together? He looks at you, eyes dark. Not faith, not bread, only fear. Perhaps the elders demand order. They call for silence, for decision. Father Ulrich insists, we must tithe more to the church. More grain, more wood, so we may distribute fairly. This is God's will. Randall snarls, God's will, or your belly. Who weighs the scales, Father? Who counts the sacks? You. Gasps, ripple. Suspicion spreads. Eyes turn to Father Ulrich, hard, accusing. He slams his staff against the floor. You dare call me thief? Randall steps forward, face red, hands fists. If the grain is gone, It is because you feasted while we starved. Chaos explodes. Men shove, women scream, elders shout. Torches sway dangerously near beams. The church shakes with fury to calm the chaos. A terrible decision is made. Father Ulrich, pale with rage, demands proof of innocence. He declares a trial by fire, the ancient way. Let God judge me, he says, and burn the guilty. The villagers drag wood to the center, build a small blaze. The smoke stings your eyes as the fire crackles. Father Ulrich thrusts his hand into the flames. The crowd gasps. His skin sizzles, blistering, but he does not cry out. He pulls it free, charred, smoking. See, he cries, the Lord preserves me. The crowd roars, some in awe, some in doubt. Randall spits on the ground. A trick, pain proves nothing. The division deepens, faith against pragmatism, God against hunger, and you, caught between. Feel the weight of both truths. That night, back in the hall, Thomas sits beside you by the fire. His face is drawn, his eyes shadowed. You see now, he says, they will not last together. Some will follow Ulrich, some will follow Randall, but the village will not survive split. You whisper, which do you follow? He stares into the embers, neither. I follow the fire and the blade. The words chill you, but in them you hear honesty. Days pass. The storm has gone, but the division grows. At night whispers gather in corners. Men plot, women murmur, lines are drawn, though no one admits it aloud. You stumble upon one such council in the barn, Randall and others, voices low. We take the stores back from the church, share them ourselves. Ulrich cannot be trusted. Thomas listens from the shadows, silent. When you leave, he mutters, this is the beginning of blood. Father Ulrich responds with fire of his own. On Sunday, he preaches not of love, not of hope, but of damnation. Those who doubt me doubt God, and those who doubt God shall freeze. Already you see it, the thieves, the weak, the faithless. The Lord takes them first. The villagers shiver. Fear runs deeper than hunger. Mothers clutch children, whispering prayers feverishly. But in the back, Randall scoffs loud enough for all to hear. If God fed us, our bellies would be full. All I see is ash and bone. The tension is a blade's edge. It happens suddenly. During the ration, a sack of grain goes missing. Father Ulrich accuses Randall's family. Randall roars back. Men shove. A knife flashes. Blood splatters on the church floor. Gasps fill the air. A man falls, clutching his side, groaning. The village erupts in chaos. Some rush to aid him. Others scream for punishment. Father Ulrich raises his charred hand, shouting, see, the devil walks among us. Randall howls, better devil than liar. And in that instant, the unity of the village dies by nightfall. The survivors split. Some huddle in the church, clinging to Father Ulrich's sermons, praying louder than ever. Others gather in barns and cottages, hoarding what scraps they have, swearing loyalty to Randall's pragmatism. The hall, once filled with all, is half empty. Silence gnaws at its corners. The fire seems weaker. Thomas shakes his head. They are breaking. And once broken, a village does not mend. You whisper, then what happens? He looks at you, eyes dark. Then winter chooses. That night, the feast is called the Feast of Shadows. A desperate attempt to bring joy back into hollow bones. The villagers gather, divided but present. sharing the last of their honey, their ale, their scraps of meat. They sing, they dance, they force smiles through tears. But in the shadows of the hall you see them, men watching with hard eyes, hands near blades, women whispering with bitterness. And you know the feast is not salvation, it is prelude, because after feasting comes famine, after song comes silence, and after faith versus pragmatism comes betrayal. The decision comes suddenly. After weeks of storms, hunger, and division, the elders announce a feast, not of plenty, but of remembrance. If we do not celebrate, Father Ulrich declares, we are already dead. The words ripple through the village like both promise and threat. The last of the ale is brought forth, the final honeycomb, the final apples dried to leather, a piglet too weak to survive until spring is slaughtered. Barley is ground into thick loaves, and a cauldron of pottage bubbles over the hearth. It is waste, and it is salvation, both at once. Thomas mutters to you, this is folly, but it may be the only thing keeping them from tearing each other apart. You ask quietly, so it's for survival. He nods once. Joy is food, too, but joy burns faster. By nightfall, the hall glows brighter than it has in months. Torches blaze, the hearth roars. The smell of meat and bread fills the air, thick and intoxicating. Villagers crowd in, cheeks flushed from firelight. Children stare wide-eyed at platters of food, their hands trembling as they reach for scraps they had only dreamed of songs rise. Old songs, voices hoarse but strong. Feet stamp against the floor. You sit among them, bowl in hand, the pottage thick and savory, tasting richer than anything since your arrival. It is not abundance, but it feels like it. The laughter is real, but beneath it lies something sharp. Every eye flicks to neighbors' bowls. Every smile carries a shadow, because everyone knows when this feast ends, there will be less than before. The music swells. A fiddle screeches, a drum thumps, hands clap in rhythm. Children dance first, their limbs thin but quick, their laughter brief and bright. Then the adults join, stamping, spinning, moving with a desperation that feels less like joy and more like defiance. You are pulled into the circle, Thomas's hand gripping yours. The rhythm jolts through your body. At first you stumble, your steps clumsy, but soon the beat takes you. Around you, faces blur, sweat, laughter, hollow eyes lit by fire. For a moment, you forget the hunger. For a moment, you are only movement, only breath, only sound. Thomas does not smile, but his grip is steady. His eyes are alive, sharp in the firelight. The music ends in a rush of shouts and cheers. The hall rings with the sound, louder than wolves, louder than wind. And in that moment, you almost believe the feast has worked. But not all join. In the corners of the hall, some sit apart, eyes narrow, lips tight. They do not sing, do not dance. They watch. Randall and his followers, those who mocked faith, who spat at Father Ulrich's sermons, drink their ale in silence, muttering among themselves. Their glances cut sharp. As blades, others huddle near the priest, whispering prayers, their eyes darting at every laugh from Randall's side. The hall is full of sound, but beneath it runs silence. A silence that waits. You feel it pressing against your skin, a cold reminder. Unity is broken. This feast is no cure, only a mask. As food dwindles, stories begin. An elder speaks of winters past, of the year without summer, when ash from distant Volcanoes dimmed the sun and snow fell in June. Another tells of wolves breaking into halls, dragging children into the night. Some tales are grim, warnings meant to frighten. Others are legends of saints who have fed villagers with a single loaf, of hunters who slew beasts larger than men. Children cling to them, eyes wide. Adults laugh too loudly, desperate to believe. You listen, every word, a thread binding them together. But you see the truth in Thomas's eyes. These stories are not hope. They are distraction, and distraction fades. As the night deepens, the ale runs out. The honey is gone. The pig is bone. The bread is crumbs. The laughter falters. The music stops. The fire burns lower, and the whispers return. You ate more than your share. Your bowl was fuller. You hid some back. Randall stands, swaying, his voice loud. How many sacks still lie in the church, Father? How much grain locked away while children starve? Father Ulrich rises, his charred hand lifted. Enough to see us through spring. If God wills it. The crowd stirs, restless, hungry eyes. Gleam, Randall snarls. If God wills it, or if you hoard it. The hall erupts in shouts. Accusations, curses, fists slamming tables. The feast unravels, joy collapsing into suspicion. Children cry. Women pull them close. Men shove, mutter, glare. The shadows grow longer. It happens fast. A man accuses his neighbor of stealing meat from the pot. The neighbor denies it. Words turn to shouts. Shouts turn to fists. The hall erupts. Men grapple, bowls shattering ale, spilling. Women scream, children scatter. Father Ulrich shouts for order. Randall laughs, his voice booming over the chaos. See, this is your faith. Nothing but hunger dressed as prayer. Thomas pushes you behind him, knife drawn, eyes sharp. Stay back. The fight surges, but slowly, painfully. Elders and stronger men wrench it apart. Blood stains the floor. One man lies groaning, his nose broken, his face swollen. The whole falls into uneasy silence. But the feast is over. The fire burns low. The villagers sit in silence, bowls empty, eyes hollow once more. The taste of meat lingers on their tongues, but it is bitter now, soured by anger. Children sleep fitfully, whimpering in dreams. Women whisper prayers. Men stare at the floor, their hands restless, their gazes sharp. Thomas sits beside you, his face shadowed. This is why it was folly. They tasted too much. Now hunger will be sharper, and sharper hunger cuts deeper. You whisper, then why hold the feast at all? His eyes meet yours, dark and steady, because without it, they would have broken tonight. Now, they will break tomorrow. The words weigh heavier than stone. That night, during the watch, the village is restless. The wind is still, the stars sharp, the snow hard as stone. But inside, the hall stirs with unease. Men pace, muttering. Women clutch their children tighter. Every creak of timber, every hiss of embers feels like warning. Thomas walks the line outside, torch in hand. His breath steams, his steps crunch. He glances toward the church, where a dim light flickers. Someone's there, he mutters. Too late for prayer. He grips his knife tighter, but does not move closer. He only watches, his face grim. And you realize secrets are being made, even now. Deals whispered, betrayals planned. The feast gave joy, but it also gave fuel. As you return inside, you hear it. Not the storm, not the wolves, a whisper, from the corner of the hall, low, deliberate. Words you cannot catch, but the tone is unmistakable. Plotting you glance, but the shadows are thick. Only shapes, only voices. Thomas hears it too. His face is hard. Do not ask, do not listen. Better not to know, but you cannot shake it. The shadows grow longer in your mind, and the whisper curls in your ear. Long after it has faded, by dawn, the feast is memory. The hall is silent once more, joy burned out, suspicion thick as frost. Father Ulrich prays over the fire. Randall sharpens his axe. The villagers avoid each other's eyes, and you know the feast of shadows was not salvation. It was a spark, and soon that spark will set the village aflame. The morning after the feast of shadows is heavy with silence. The laughter is gone, the songs are ashes. Bowls sit empty, bellies ache sharper than before. Villagers move like ghosts, avoiding each other's eyes. The feast gave them warmth, but it also reminded them of what they no longer have. Thomas watches them, his jaw tight. It begins now, he says. Once joy fades, hunger takes its place, twice over. You see it too. Every look is sharper, every whisper darker. The feast did not unite them. It divided them further. It happens 2 days later. The granary is opened for ration. Father Ulrich and the elders measure the stores, but when the sacks are counted, the numbers are wrong. 2 sacks of grain gone, gasps fill the church. Faces turn pale. Some cry out. Father Ulrich's voice booms. Who steals from the village, steals from God. Confess now, or we all shall suffer. No one speaks. The silence is crushing. Eyes dart from neighbor to neighbor. Then a child's voice pipes. Up, trembling, I saw them. I saw the Keens at night. All heads turn. The Keens already shamed once before. The father denies it, his voice breaking. Lies, we took nothing. But the crowd surges forward, dragging them to the altar. The mother sobs, clutching her children. The grain is found hidden under their floor, just as before. The hall erupts in fury. There is no trial this time, no patience left. The villagers shout for justice, for blood. They would have let us starve, kill the thieves. Father Ulrich raises his staff. Exile. The word strikes harder than a blade. Exile in winter means death. The Keens wail, begging, clinging to their children. But the mob will not be swayed. They are dragged to the door. Their children scream, clawing at the floor. Thomas stands beside you, his face stone. You whisper, they'll die out there. His voice is low. That's the point. The door slams. Their screams fade into the wind. No one speaks after. But everyone knows it will not be the last time. After the exile, the village changes. Every door is watched, every step measured. Families guard their bowls like treasure. Even whispers sound like betrayal. Children no longer play, they cling. 2 mothers' eyes wide, silent. One evening, a man refuses to share his bread. His neighbor lunges for it. A fight erupts, fists and blood on the frozen floor. The bread is torn apart, trampled, wasted. Both men are beaten and cast out into the snow. The lesson is clear. In hunger, even bread kills. Then it happens, the eyes turn on you. One night, as rations are handed, your bowl is filled slightly fuller than others. Not by choice, a servant. Ladles without thinking. But the whole sees. Whispers rise. She eats more. She is still a lady. Why does she get extra? The murmurs sharpen into accusations. A woman shouts, "Why should she live while my child starves?" The hall stirs, restless, angry. Hands point, your chest tightens. You want to speak, to defend yourself, but words fail. Then Thomas steps forward, placing himself between you and the crowd. His knife gleams in the firelight. Touch her, and "You'll answer to me," he growls. The hall falls silent. Father Alric slams his staff. No more. She eats as we eat. No more, no less. The accusations fade, but the stares linger. From then on, you feel them always. Watching, waiting, it comes. On a night colder than any before, the fire burns weak. The children cry with hollow voices. The elders gather. Their faces are grim. We cannot last. There is too little left. One family must give so others may live. Gasps fill the hall. The meaning is clear. Sacrifice, whispers. Race, who will it be? Whose turn? Then an old man rises. His body is frail, his hands shaking, but his voice is steady. Take me. I have lived long enough. Better me than the children. His family weeps, begging, clinging to him, but he pushes them away gently. Do not cry, I go to my rest. He is led outside, wrapped in cloth. His figure disappears into the snow. The hall weeps silently, but no one stops it, because in this winter, mercy is sacrifice. Later, in the barn, Thomas shows you something. Beneath the straw, he has hidden a small pouch of dried beans. For the children, he says simply, "Not for me, not for you. For them." You stare, shocked. "If they find this, they won't," he cuts in. His eyes are cold, "and if they do, I'll pay the price." You realize then, Thomas has already chosen his sacrifice. Not to die, but to bear the risk, the blame, the danger it is. Not faith, it is not duty, it is something else, something heavier. But not all sacrifices are chosen. One night, a family disappears. Their cottage is empty, their fire cold. At first, whispers say they fled, but then Randall's men are seen with new cloaks, fresh bread, and stronger faces. The truth spreads like frost. They killed the family in secret, took what little they had. The hall roars in outrage, but Randall only shrugs. Better their food feed the strong than rot with the weak. It is a betrayal deeper than theft. It is murder, yet no one stops him. No one dares. The line has been crossed, and once crossed, it cannot be undone. That night, Thomas speaks to you quietly. His voice is heavy, his eyes shadowed. Winter does this. It breaks us, piece by piece. Trust, kindness, mercy, gone. What's left is only bone, only blade, only choice. He looks at you long and hard. When the time comes, what will you give? Bread, fire, yourself? You cannot answer, because the question is not for tomorrow. It is for now. The next dawn, the first thaw begins. A crack of ice on the river, a drip of water from the eaves. Green shoots, piercing snow. Hope flickers, but with hope comes desperation. Father. Ulrich calls for prayer. Randall sharpens his axe, and Thomas whispers to you, this is the end. Not of winter, of us. It begins quietly. One morning, the air feels different, softer, warmer, though only slightly. The kind of warmth that barely touches skin, but after months of knives in the air, it feels like mercy. A drip echoes, then another, water falling. From the eaves of the hall, the villagers freeze. They turn their heads upward, eyes wide, listening. A child whispers, "It's melting." The sound spreads like a miracle. Not hymns, not sermons, just water trickling free. For the first time in months, you see hope on faces. Faint, trembling, but real. Days later, the ice on the river cracks. At first, faint pops like distant drums. Then, with a thunderous roar, sheets of ice break apart. Carried downstream in jagged slabs, villagers gather on the bank, staring as if witnessing resurrection. Children laugh, real laughter, not desperate or brittle. Women cross themselves. Murmuring prayers, Thomas only says, "It begins." But his voice is cautious, not joyful, because the thaw brings more than hope. It brings work. It brings hunger sharpened by the promise of food still out of reach. The thaw does not erase hunger. It makes it worse. The snow melts, but fields are bare. The stores are nearly gone. The bread is crumbs, the beans dust, the firewood soggy bellies. Ache sharper now that spring teases green shoots without offering them yet. Randall pushes for raiding neighboring villages. Father Ulrich insists on fasting to purify the body before planting. Arguments flare again. Voices rise. Blades glint. The thaw reveals earth, but it also reveals division. Then comes the work. The ground, once iron, softens into mud. Men drag. Plows through it, shoulders straining, boots sinking. Women scatter seed with trembling hands. Oxen too weak to pull collapse in the mud. Men drag the plows themselves, grunting, gasping. Thomas pulls beside them, his body thin but steady. He glances at you, nodding to a sack of seed. Your turn. You scatter it awkwardly, clumps, falling heavy, uneven. He corrects your hand, guiding your throw, even like rain. Your arms ache, your back burns, but you keep scattering, each handful a prayer without words, because every grain means tomorrow, every seed means survival. As the snow recedes, the dead emerge. Bodies, long hidden, are uncovered in ditches, fields, and barns, frozen where they fell, some clutching tools, some curled as if asleep. The villagers gather them, silent. No tears left, no strength. They are carried to the churchyard, laid in rows until the ground softens enough for burial. Children ask questions. Mothers hush them. You cannot look away. Every body is a story unfinished, a debt unpaid. Thomas whispers, "This is what the thaw gives back. The dead before the earth takes them again." And then green dot, tiny shoots, push through the thawing. Soil, fragile but defiant. Grass near the church, buds on branches. The children run to them, touching, gasping. Adults kneel, whispering thanks. Even Randall pauses, his hard face softening at the sight. Father Ulrich raises his hands, crying, "The Lord delivers." The earth lives again. Voices join in prayer. Shaky but loud, Thomas only mutters, "Too soon to celebrate." Seeds don't feed bellies, not yet, but you see it, hope, real hope. Enough to keep them moving. Spring brings life, but not forgiveness. Randall's men still mutter, their hands on blades. Father Ulrich preaches louder than ever, his charred hand lifted high. The village still feels split, faith on one side, on the other. One evening, Thomas says quietly, they'll plough the same field, but not as the same people. Winter doesn't end when snow melts. It ends when memory fades. and memory never fades. You hear the truth in it. The thaw heals the earth, but the wounds between men will linger. Work consumes the days. Nights are filled with exhaustion, not feasting, but in every task, the cost of survival shows. Children who lived are thinner, weaker, the elderly fewer. Families broken, their members scattered among others. The hall feels emptier, songs quieter. One night, as you sit by the fire, Thomas says simply, "We survived, but not all of us, and not all of us whole." You ask, "Was it worth it?" He stares into the embers. His silence is heavier than words. At last, weeks later, the fields sprout, tiny rows of green stretching across mud. Not much yet, but enough to promise more. The villagers gather, staring at the fields as if they were treasure. For the first time, smiles spread without bitterness. Children laugh again. Women hum songs as they work. Men's shoulders straighten. Father Ulrich declares a day of thanks. Randall allows his men to rest. Even Thomas lets himself breathe easier. The winter has broken. Not gone, scars remain, but broken. You walk with Thomas one evening, the sun low, the fields glowing green dot. He says quietly, "You came here soft, a princess. I thought you'd die the first night, but you worked, you endured, you lived." His eyes meet yours. "You'll carry this winter all your life. We all will." You nod, feeling the truth deep in your bones. The thaw brings life, but also memory. Memory of hunger, of wolves, of betrayal, of sacrifice. And memory is forever. That night, as you lie in the hall, you hear the wind outside. Softer now, warmer, but still, when it rattles the shutters, your breath catches, because you know winter always returns. And the question is not whether you can survive once, it is whether you can survive again. Spring has come. The fields are green, the river flows, and the birds return. The village lives again. But winter does not vanish when the snow melts. It lingers in scars and silence, in the way children reach for bread even when full, in the way men wake at midnight, ears straining for wolves that are no longer there, in the way women hoard scraps of cloth, unwilling to throw anything away. You, too, carry it. You walk the fields and see green, but in your mind you still see white. White drifts swallowing roofs, white frost burning fingers, white bodies, curled in the snow. You wake at night with the scratching still in your ears. Sometimes you swear you hear whispers. Sometimes you wake chewing straw, dreaming of bread. The thaw has freed your body, but the winter holds your soul. Once you were a dollar princess, silk and pearls, dowries and dinners, a guest in a world that bowed to wealth. Now you are something else. Your hands are calloused, your face lean. You know the weight of an axe, the ache of hunger, the heat of fire hoarded like treasure. You no longer look at bread as bread, you see it as life. You no longer hear songs as joy, you hear them as defiance. And you know now, survival is not crowns or titles or wealth. Survival is wood in the fire, seed in the ground, hands steady when knives flash in the dark. The villagers once saw you as liability. Now they nod when you pass. You endured with them, and that endurance is worth more than silver. But survival is never for all. The Keens exiled into the snow. The old man who walked into the storm, offering himself so children might live. The boy found, curled by the frozen pond. The families buried beneath collapsed roofs. they are gone, but they remain. Their absence is felt in every empty mat, every missing voice and song. Their sacrifice lives in the faces of those who remain. The orphans Thomas fed in secret, the children reassigned to new families, the weak who would not have survived without the loss of others. Winter's cruelty is this: the living are carried on the bones of the dead, and you know you carry them, too. On the first day of planting, Thomas walks with you to the river. The ice has broken, the water running fast, brown with melt. He says quietly, "I told you once, winter is not cold. It is not snow. Winter is hunger. Winter is choice." He skips a stone across the water, his hands cracked, his eyes shadowed. This year we lived, but next winter will come, and it will demand again. It always does. You ask him, how do you endure it, year after year? He looks at you, steady. You don't, not whole. A piece of you dies each time, but you keep walking, because someone must. His words lodge in your chest like stone, and here my voice slows. Because though I speak to you of 1895, though I tell you the story of a princess who learned hunger, the truth is larger. It is your story. All of us carry ancestors who endured winters like this, not just in England, not just in one year, but everywhere. Every land has its famine, its cold, its nights of terror when wolves howled and granaries emptied, and yet you are here, breathing, listening, alive, because they endured, because they sacrificed, because they betrayed, or forgave, or fought, or prayed, whatever it took to crawl through the snow into spring. Their blood runs in you. Their resilience is in your bones. That is the legacy of winter. But even now, when the wind rattles the shutters, I tell you to listen closely, because sometimes, if you are still, you will hear it. The scratch at the window, the whisper in the dark, the echo of hunger, clawing not at your belly but at your memory. Do not fear it. It is not curse. It is reminder that comfort is fragile, that survival is never free, that every loaf, every flame, every green shoot is bought with struggle. When you hear that whisper, you are hearing your ancestors, their voices carried through time, not saying fear, saying endure. So, what would you do if you woke up as a dollar princess in 1895, in the dead of winter, with nothing but hunger and fire between you and the grave? Would you pray? Would you fight? Would you betray? Would you sacrifice? The villagers answered, in their way. Thomas answered in his dot. And now, the question is yours. Because winter always comes, not always of snow, sometimes of loss, sometimes of sorrow, sometimes of trial. When it comes, will you endure? Or will you listen to the whisper at the window and remember that you already can?